What's up everybody, Brian Tong here with Apple's new iPad Pro review. Look, you see it here, it looks beautiful, and you can tell we got the dual lens right here. And the iPad has really been one of my favorite Apple devices since it pretty much first came out. And the iPad Pro now just ranks even higher than that. So you're talking to someone who just loves and adores the iPad Pro. And if you're looking for my Magic Keyboard review, well, so am I, but that's gonna have to wait until May. Now the question here, is this their best iPad Pro yet? Absolutely. But then, is it worth the upgrade? That answer, it depends. Now this is easily Apple's best designed iPad from the late 2018 facelift, so I don't think there's really any need to make any major changes to it until they bring that new display tech to it, because do you want a thinner iPad Pro after some of the reported bending issues? It never happened to me, but it feels perfect in hand as is. I love the weight, and it just feels so right. The design is great. Now it comes in an 11-inch and 12.9-inch screen sizes like before. The IPS LCD display still looks great. It supports the P3 wide color gamut with its 120 Hz refresh rate that never gets old, and then you have True Tone as well. But I've always been a big screen guy for reading comics, magazines, watching movies. I'm always on the go, so this is the ultimate media consumption device for me. The biggest cosmetic difference is its dual lens camera, the square patch on the backside. I mean, you can't miss it. And then there's a wide angle 12 megapixel camera and an ultra wide 10 megapixel camera. You know that I've never been the biggest fan of people using their iPads, right, as cameras. It's like, come on, it's awkward. You can call me judgy, I don't care. But with the improved mic system that's here, it's really becoming an even more powerful tool and content creation device, and I'm all in for that. Now, its biggest new hardware feature is its LiDAR scanner. That stands for light detection and ranging, and it's setting up this device for Apple's augmented reality future. It can map out your world up to 5 meters away, but are we really ready to jump on board? Because ARKit has made huge strides over the years, but even after the Pokemon Go craze, if you're still playing it, and I know some of you are, a majority of users, they aren't just using AR that often, and even if Apple forces it on us, it still doesn't mean it's gonna work. Now, I've played around with placing down furniture in a room like a grown-up once, and I've pretended to already have Apple devices before they come out to make people think I got them earlier, just using Apple's website like I did with this iPad Pro. I mean, the more that I think about it, that's actually when I use the AR feature the most, but I still haven't felt the need or the desire to use augmented reality daily or weekly, not even monthly. And I'm not crapping on AR by no means. It's amazing. It has huge potential and it can be exciting, but there's just not enough content for me to get excited about it on Apple devices yet. And Apple, they are one of those few companies that has the loyal fan base and the ecosystem to make something like this work. But for me, there's just real concern when I'm investing in any new hardware before giving us any real killer apps or experiences that complement it. This is the iPad Pro's big shiny new feature compared to the last generation. And you know, we've seen the demos, they look all fancy and fun, but still we aren't seeing everyday people playing new AR games in an open space or on tables with iPhones and iPads. At least I'm not. Now, under the hood, Apple touts the A12Z processor and says it's faster than most PC laptops. The A12X, well, that pretty much did the same. It was faster than PC laptops from the 2018 model and also included some Apple laptops as well. We know that Apple loves to show off with its benchmarks, but they didn't do it this time because this isn't the next jump to an A13 or higher. And over here, like, I still have my 3rd gen iPad Pro. You can see, right, we've got the single lens here. And then I have this new 4th gen iPad Pro from 2020, right? You got it. So I decided to run the Geekbench 5 benchmark for both CPU and GPU performance 5 times on each device to really just get an average score for both of them. Now, for CPU performance in the 2018 iPad, it resulted in an average single score of 1,116.4. Its multi-core score got 4,650, while the new 2020 iPad Pro had an average single core score of 1,126 and a multi-core score of 4,694. So the difference between the two is just really minimal at best, and users will not be able to feel any real difference in speed between them. Now on the GPU side, the A12Z, it gets an additional core for 8 cores total compared to the A12X's 7 GPU cores. So in metal scores, the difference shows here with the 2018 iPad Pro getting an average score of 9,233.8, and the 2020 iPad Pro gets an average score of 9,700 37.8. So there's really a nice boost in graphics performance here. Other differences under the hood, every 2020 iPad Pro model comes with 6 gigs of RAM. That's compared to the 2018 models where the only model that had 6 gigs of RAM was the 1 terabyte storage version. The other storage capacities only had 4 gigs. You also get an 802.11ax chip for Wi-Fi 6, but do you have Wi-Fi 6 at home? Do you have a router? Most people don't. If you have an iPad Pro 2nd gen or earlier, I mean, this is gonna be a huge upgrade for you when it comes to just pure performance and design, pretty much everything if you're from earlier generations. But for all my 2018 iPad Pro peeps, which is me, there just aren't any major performance differences that would give a really convincing argument to make the jump. And most of you won't be able to take advantage of the Wi-Fi 6 unless you have a Wi-Fi 6 router. 6 gigs of RAM and the U1 chips, they're nice, but if you have a 2018 iPad Pro, I would feel pretty good about keeping mine. Now the biggest piece of this puzzle is the iPad Pro's best friend. It won't be out until May, and that's the Magic Keyboard with Trackpad, but because of the iOS 13.4 software update, we can pair the iPad Pro with something like the Magic Trackpad 2 or a Magic Mouse 2, and it really just gives us a sneak peek of what it'll be like with a Magic Keyboard case. And I just absolutely love what Apple has done to give the iPad Pro a whole new bag of tricks and functionality. Now, once you pair it with a trackpad or mouse over Bluetooth, you don't even have to do a thing, and you'll instantly see this semi-transparent circle that represents your pointer, and it's contextual. So when I move it over apps, it'll disappear, and then the apps will kind of swell and get a little bigger. You also see the same kind of animation over apps in the docks. And then arranging your home screen is faster because you don't have to do a long press and hold to move the app. You can just click and grab an app from the trackpad and move it instantly with the pointer. It's super slick. Now, when I moved it around over the background, if you look at this, you can see that it changes color so that you can see the circle depending on if your background color is dark, well then that circle is light. If the background is light, that circle becomes dark. Now the gestures on the trackpad are different than the gestures when you're directly touching the iPad screen, so there's gonna be times where you'll probably mix them up, get them a little confused at first. For example, on the trackpad, you can use a 2-finger swipe left to right to see your widgets, and then 3 fingers to take you back home. But if you're going directly on the iPad, you just use a single finger swipe once to see it and a single finger swipe to get rid of it. Now on the trackpad, also you have a 3-finger swipe left to right that takes you to previously used apps. If you go directly on screen, that's 4 or 5 fingers. Another thing on the trackpad, a 3-finger swipe from the bottom up takes you back to the home screen, or if you drag your pointer to the bottom, you can actually click on that bar and then it'll take you home. Whereas when I just go directly to the screen, I take a single finger and swipe from the bottom to the top, takes me back home. So there's gonna be this learning curve, but it's very slick how the trackpad works, and it's contextual depending on what it's moving over. And you'll probably end up remembering different gestures depending on the task you're doing, but it's not gonna be consistent between the two. Also, doing anything related to copying and pasting text with the trackpad is infinitely better than any touch gesture that they've come up with. So I can see myself using the iPad like I normally do, but then jumping over to the Magic Keyboard trackpad when I need to get some emails or script writing done, or maybe using the Notes app, and maybe even more as new apps come out. You can also jump into the accessibility settings of iOS 13.4 and go into pointer control to change everything from the contrast to when the pointer hides, its size, its scrolling speed, and more. And it's not easily found, so I just wanted to show you where to tweak it. But you can easily see how much of a game changer that this is gonna be for the current iPad Pro owners once the Magic Keyboard is available. Now, playing with the UI for the trackpad and pointer is just, again, super slick, and I'm just even more juiced now for the Magic. You know what? I'm just gonna call it the Magic from now on. It's that good. So it's not gonna have a row of function keys and act like a PC. I've heard a lot of you complain about that specifically, but Apple has really made this trackpad and mouse support its own thing with the iPad. We knew that they were always going to do this, and it's a polished experience. And I know that even I still have to get used to it, but I'm just excited for it. Now for digital artists and people planning to use the Apple Pencil with the new iPad Pros, you're gonna need the second generation Apple Pencil to use it with the new model. That's an additional $129. It supports the 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pro models from late 2018 as well. So look at all the pricing here. The iPad Pro 11-inch starts at $799, and then you have $299 for the Magic Keyboard. If we're talking about the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, that starts at $999, and then the Magic Keyboard for that is $349. The iPad Pros obviously jump up in price as you add more storage space, and then you also have AppleCare Plus. That's an additional $129. So look, if you love the iPad family and you've been looking to make the upgrade from maybe a regular iPad or older iPad Air or a second gen iPad Pro and earlier, you're gonna just love this upgrade. Like, I can absolutely say that with confidence. But then if you're someone like me who owns the 2018 iPad Pro, I look at all the differences here, and Wi-Fi 6 is nice, but it won't matter if I don't have a Wi-Fi 6 router. The U1 chip will be nice, but it's still not active. The design and the screen, they're about the same. The battery life is about the same depending on use, and the performance is pretty much the same. Well, okay, graphics is a little better, but does that make a noticeable difference? And after using the new iPad Pro, I really didn't do a single thing different, and I didn't feel like I gained anything more. It was really iOS 13.4 that got me the most excited because it just gave us this peek into the future. And the only thing staring at me right in the eye, this thing, the dual lens camera and the LiDAR sensor for AR, it's there, but it still didn't change how I use my iPad. And maybe there will be more iPad photographers. I'm just not one of them, at least not yet. But I really can't say that this is an iPad that everyone should upgrade to. If you have a 2018 iPad Pro, like me, it's just smarter to hold off until it makes that next true leap in performance, because the magic, that's gonna unlock so much more for you. We know though, the future of hardware for Apple is here. Maybe AR takes off, but we'll have to wait for Apple developers to really deliver on that promise. And this is still Apple's best tablet, hands down. If you're ready for an upgrade, you're gonna love it. But the game changer for the iPad Pro is the Magic Keyboard, and that's the upgrade that I'm waiting for.